Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we continue this dialogue discussion. Arjun, Krishna is instructing Arjun on the battlefield, and we're at text 37 in the second chapter. Ato varpasya se swavam jiva jabukseya mahim tasmid utisha kunteya yudhaya kirtanishchaya. Translation. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. There's a very short purport by Prabhupada, only one sentence, so I'll read it. Prabhupada says here, so even though there were no certainty of victory for Arjun's side, he still had to fight. For even being killed there, he could be elevated into the heavenly planets. So there is so by these instructions, Krishna is saying, okay, it's a win-win. For being a Kshatriya and fighting for unreligious principles, there's nothing to lose. For if one conquers, he can conquers his enemies, then he will enjoy earthly kingdom. And if one perishes, then he goes to the heavenly planets. So we can put this into context, really. So we understand what the situation like on this battlefield. Arjun had to fight. He's in a situation where he needs to fight, and he became a little bit weak at heart because of the situation that he was facing. So he wasn't up for it. He didn't want to do it. But luckily, he has Krishna right there with him, and Krishna is there with him, and he was able to somehow gain a proper perspective on the whole situation, and in the end, he decided to fight. But this took some persuasion from Krishna before he was able to, before he was convinced. So it was good for. Hi Krishna, welcome. So it was good for Arjun, and also it was very good for even those on the opposing side, because Krishna is on the battlefield. Therefore, everyone, those who lost their lives, they're being liberated. So that's what we understand from simply because the Supreme Personality was on the battlefield. So it was a great boon for them, you could say. But for us in the current era, we can find inspiration from these texts because they are eternal and transcendental, and always relevant and fresh. And life is about, as we know, it's about making decisions. And we have to do make decisions every day about this, that, or something or the other. But it's not something we can escape. It's not always the same magnitude as fighting on a battlefield. but in our little, we still have to fight our own individual battles, not just with external forces, talking about spiritual things as well, but also from within. So we have our little things going on within us we have to fight, um, because we're in a certain difficult times now where so many things are coming up within us as well. Hi Krishna. Externally and internally. So we have our own battles going on, and but for Arjun, his position is assured because he's fighting on religious principles, and Krishna also reminded Arjun that there's no better engagement for one like a Kshatriya than to fight for religious principles on the grounds of religious principles. There's no better engagement for him. So, and I suppose Arjun already he knows all about these things. But Krishna is reminding him. Krishna is telling him, okay, this is what you should do, as if he's suffering from amnesia at the moment. Arjun, he's lost all composure, so he doesn't know what he is. Maybe logically he's not thinking properly as in terms of following his dharma. But Krishna was there to remind him. Well, let's be fair. Krishna also is the one who put him in that situation anyway, so he can be bewildered. That's what the scholars have concluded. So it wasn't a senseless war. It was based on religious principles, and certain annihilation needed to take place. So Arjun was just an instrument in this fight. Krishna also assured him that he's already put them to death. So all you need to do is just to fight. Just do your duty and fight. So and there's no loss or diminution. It's a bit like spiritual life, there's no loss or diminution. Little thing we do will go out some way to help us, either now or in the future. It is said that even a little engagement can save us from the most dangerous fear, little endeavor. And what is that fear? I don't know. That fear probably is fear of, I don't know, death or something. But it says it can save us from most dangerous fear. So we talk about fighting on religious principles. This is what the whole Bhagavad Gita is about: convincing Arjuna to do his duty, because it's the right thing to do. We currently see that there are so many senseless wars going on in the world, and we understand that from a Kshatriya's point of view, if he fights following his dharma and he dies, then he goes to the heavenly planets, and we see now so many you could say senseless loss of lives. Currently we have a situation, as we all are fully aware, because the media doesn't let up. It's always in your face with this thing in Europe. And a colossal loss of lives already, huge numbers, huge. They won't come out with it yet, but probably very huge. But what happened? What happens to them? I mean, where do they go? They say if you fight on some religious principle, you go to attend the heavenly planets. But it seems like we've lost that concept of what is religious principles. What are religious principles? Because there are so many senseless wars going on. But Arjun's situation is assured. Krishna affirms here that if whichever way it goes, if you lost, you still gain, and if you win, you still gain. So there's no loss. So I suppose that's a great encouragement for him. we can draw a lot of inspiration from the Gita, and we might think, as you know, sometimes we have our own decisions to make, and we might not always readily find the answers, you know, and we may not able to turn to someone who's got the answers, because, as I say, life every day is about making decisions, one way or another. But simply by the virtue of the Bhagavad Gita and what it stands for, we can find light in it and inspiration for our daily thing. Even though if we don't find the exact answer, it will inspire us to maybe be hopeful that somehow illumination is in the text and illuminate our lives in some ways and help us illuminate our paths. Because most of the time we are a little bit covered in, you know, this cloud because of stress, anxiety, and difficult situations, and so we're not sure if we're making the right decisions. So many times, when we have to make a decision, most of the time, on reflection, we think, well, maybe it's a hit or miss. You know, maybe I've done the right thing, maybe I have not done the right thing, because who's going to validate it? It's just us against our mind. Our mind is saying, okay, come up with this answer. It's an answer, yes, okay. It might work, it might not work. But when you have someone like a great personality on your side who is transcendental, who has no ignorance, is eternally blissful, is full of knowledge, and so that's wonderful. But we don't always have that luxury. So what do we do when that is the case? When that's not the case, what do? We just have to make our decisions, and hopefully they turn out right. Yes, we do make a lot of decisions which we're not very happy with, and this happens all the time. Which way to go, this way or that way? It's very difficult because material life is very complex, and situations arising all the time. Something is subdued and is dealt with, and then something else pops up. Just have to carry on. But it's not a matter of just right or wrong, but we just need some kind of direction. You know, maybe before we make decisions, we can consult. Sometimes we can try to connect, maybe through prayer, through meditation, reading the scriptures, seeking enlightenment from the scriptures. Something to help us to connect. Because or else it's just going to be us and the mind, or the mind, us against the mind. And as we know, that doesn't always work out. So okay, so here we are. So a couple more verses, and then Arjuna is convinced by Krishna's illumination. He's very convinced, and he's decided to fight. And then, because the whole thing is directed, orchestrated, and directed by Krishna, then he's a very fortunate soul, Arjuna. Very, very fortunate. And although the situation looks very, very grim, and it's a colossal thing, because apparently the descriptions of the battlefield is so, it would drive fear into the heart of anyone, because it was immense thing going on there. One of probably the mother of all battles. And so you would need heart to be engaged in that sort of thing. But being a Kshatriya, I'm sure you're very well trained and you're well equipped as well. Yeah? And also, it's the duty to do it. So you must do it. This day and age, what's going on is that I know someone who actually engaged in warfare, and and it's not just from this side of the pond. There are many people who, after engaging, they become mentally disturbed. Because first of all, a lot of people, on reflection, they think, well, what am I fighting? Why did I engage in that thing? You know, it's useless. Who's going to benefit? This is the state of the current times we're in. People engage because it is said by authority. Authority say, you know, you engage in this war because it's your duty and it's a command. So if you're a soldier, then you fight, right? You don't really argue. Whether it's right or wrong, you fight. But what it is, Hare Krishna, so what it is, some people, it's not that they have the fighting spirit so much, because they're not Kshatriya by nature. So what happens is that there's serious repercussions afterwards. Nervous breakdown, bad dreams, and hallucinations, of course, and then finding fault with governments, with policymakers, and eventually you fall out of society and you become, you know, isolated and become very depressed. So this is going on. Especially it's prevalent in America as well. And then these people are relegated, they're left to the wayside, by the wayside, you know. That's the reality of war as it is these days. But not in those days. In those days you are Kshatriya by nature. By nature you are called to fight because of your nature. Radha Shri Gokulananda ki jai, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, Gornitai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. You would like to take a seat, or you're just passing through? So, okay. So, can you close the door, please, Prabhu? Thank you. All right. So, so here, you know, so being a Kshatriya is pious life. You die, you go to heavenly planets. But the thing is, but there's something else. There's something else. If you're a devotee, if you practice spiritual life, eventually at the very end, what do you get? Not heavenly planets. It sounds like a very good deal. Maybe less suffering up there, higher planetary systems, maybe less suffering. And so many people actually aspire for that. They say, okay, I will settle with a higher planet, heaven or above, because of the great promises that they've heard, a long duration of life, a luxury, better senses to enjoy, better facility for enjoyment, and beauty, opulence, all these things are there. And so it sounds quite attractive. But here, Prabhupada came and Prabhupada said, no, don't aim for that. He says, no, come out of the whole thing altogether. And that whole thing is this cycle of birth and death and reincarnation, and break the cycle of karma as well, which is the binding force, which is what keeps us in this material existence. Even though it's not the same for everyone. Some of us come to some people, not me, some advanced souls, they come because they're taking pity upon us, they want to deliver us, they come to help us, so they come by their own will. But for the most part, we're here because of we're trapped, to be honest, in this cycle. So we seek illumination from the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Actually, by just these books alone, enough to liberate us. Because through them we can become God conscious, fully God conscious, and then liberation comes to serve such a person. it's easy. It's not even, it's not, it's a thrown in, it's added to it, you know. But here, we become servants first, you know. We serve, we give up certain desires, and we simple living, high thinking, so we renounce. Um, Obviously, not everyone can be a renunciant because who's going to keep the temple going? You know, people come here and they support the temple and keep it going. But then you have people who stay behind and to cultivate knowledge to share, which is what the monks they do, and that's also necessary. This, the Vedic system of life, the system of the way of living, was so perfectly scientifically arranged that everything was done peacefully. So there's still remnant about. I mean, when we according to our culture here, our religious, spiritual culture, yeah, it is Vedic. It's Vedic. We follow in that way of life as well, and it's fine for living. And in it also is also the peace formula for the for a world that is so disturbed by so many things. So so it's good to come into this community and connect with devotees and to share and to, for whatever reason one comes, it's a very good place because they can hear the transcendental knowledge and they can take something home and apply it and get some reward for it. Um, Peace of mind and some happiness that will come with it. So so there's much to gain in spiritual life, much to gain. So but whatever, because we're at different stages in our conscious evolution, different stages. So we grow and we have different methodologies and different approaches to spiritual life. But we understand that we can all gain something here. We can take from this as much as we want or as little as we want, because it's all given liberally, and the knowledge is deep and profound, and it can change hearts. It can change the world, and that's what Prabhupada came to do, apparently. So we owe him a great sense of gratitude and debt, actually, because of his sacrifice. I take people around daily, show them the manor when people come visitors, and I take them to Prabhupada's living quarters, which is always a great adventure for me, spiritual adventure, because I get to delve a little bit into his life and then the things that he has accomplished. Not that he would take credit for any of that, but he, nevertheless, he's made a huge impact upon not just his community, this side of London, but so many places around the world.